Good evening. This is the Ward 1 City of Carrollton Candidate Forum. I want to welcome everybody who is viewing this on Facebook or on YouTube. First, I'd like to tell a little bit about the League of Women Voters. The purpose of the League of Women Voters of Carrollton, Carroll County, and the Georgia League and the National League is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government and to act on selected governmental issues. We do not support or oppose any political party candidate. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, issue-driven organization that supports voters in the democratic process. We endeavor to encourage informed voting, and in that, to be more knowledgeable and more actively involved in the decision-making by our elected officials at the local, state, and national level. We make democracy work by using democratic processes to address issues. The League of Women Voters promotes political responsibility specifically by targeting issues of concern, researching information, examining facts, engaging in civil discourse, and making informed votes. The League is about coming together to find answers to contemporary concerns and striving for greater participation by the American people. Membership is open to men and women 16 years of age and older, regardless of citizenship status. So I want to greet everyone tonight and introduce you. First of all, we have Gila Gonzalez, who is our Zoom coordinator. And we have Walter Dandlicker, who is not only our treasurer of the League, but also he is our timekeeper for tonight. And I am Robin Collins. I'm a past president of the League. Our current president is Martha Ann Saunders, and she couldn't be with us tonight. I want to introduce our candidates are Jacqueline Bridges, Danielle Fluck, and Rodney Ridley. I want to go over a little bit about the protocols. I've sent the protocols already to the candidates. I'm not sure if they had time to look at them because this was kind of a spur of the moment. I want you to remember, first of all, that this is a candidate forum, not a debate. And in that, candidates do not speak to one another. We speak to the audience. So I think that'll be good for now. All right, we are going to start by giving each candidate 2 minutes for an introductory statement. And we're going to go alphabetically. Okay, we're going to start alphabetically, and we're going to start with Jacqueline. Jacqueline, now 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Bridges. I'm a citizen here in Carroll County. I've lived in Carroll County all my life. I have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. And I graduated from Central High School. And also I graduated from Dudley University of Cosmetology. And also here shortly, I'll be graduating from Ministry International Institute, where I'll be getting my associate in ministry. I'm so excited to be a candidate for the Carrollton City Council. And I was homeless in the community. And I think by me being homeless in the community have really equipped me as a candidate for the experience in running for this position. And thank you.
All right, Danielle, you're next. Ms. Fluck, 2 minutes.
All right, so just first off, I just want to thank you guys for having this forum, and it gives the residents a chance to hear from all the candidates. My name is Danielle Fluck. I'm one of the candidates for City Council in Ward 1. I'm proud to call Carrollton my home. It has a vibe like no other city I've ever been to, and so it's been really easy to call it home. It's also home to my alma mater, of University of West Georgia, where I received my bachelor's degree in political science and then my master's in public administration. I took that education, started a career as a fiscal policy analyst with the governor's office, where I work on the state's budget. I decided to run for the Ward 1 City Council position because it's really easy to see how the investment in Ward 1 has not always been on par with the rest of Carrollton. I realized that as a resident and with my background, I'm really in a unique position with that education and that background to find or be a leader in finding the solutions to the issues that Ward 1 faces. I want to bring some professionalism to the council and focus on responsible community development, transparency, creating a more united Carrollton, work with our community partners and Chamber of Commerce to bring development to the West Side without, pricing people out of the neighborhood. Responsible community development leads to beautification, increased mobility, job opportunities, better infrastructure and services. I also want to engage the community and kind of bring that decision-making or the information from City Council to kind of engage with them and get more information and more perspective from the Ward 1 community, the people that actually live here. And so by engaging that community, my hope is that we'll have the services, or we'll make sure that residents are heard and that we have the services that we need.
Thank you. I think we're having some problems with our timekeeper. Walter, can you hear? So,
Walter, can you hear us?
no, evidently he can't hear.
Okay.
So, okay, each time I'm going to give him a thumbs up. Okay, Rodney, it's your turn for 2 minutes. Oh, sorry, stop. Rodney needs to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Now 2 minutes.
Now
Can
2
you
minutes.
start
Thank you.
again?
I can. Thank you. Once again, I thank you for having me this evening. I know time is short. And once again, Rodney Ridley is my name. I am a native of Carrollton, Carrollton High School graduate, University of West Georgia, graduated from the Art Institute of Atlanta. And I served as a culinarian for the last 20 plus years here in Carrollton, a local volunteer for the Recreation Department, local sponsor and speaker to a youth here in the community. One thing I want to put a lot more focus on in the position is that, one, we definitely need a personnel that can come in and be the true liaison between the ward and the city to ensure that we have a strong voice, an understanding voice, and one who with a sound understanding of local government. With my past managerial skills, my managerial studies throughout once university and other jobs equipped me to understand the ins and out of one budget setting and the understanding of how the internals working of our society and our culture. I also want to definitely make sure that we put emphasis in the right place. We have had the opportunity in our past leaders to make sure things could been just a little different focus. So my goal is ensure that we stay on track and make sure that we can put things in the right place, be that sound voice, sound understanding to make sure people of Ward 1 know that service matters and know that someone will be there to give a great understanding for what is needed.
Great, thank you so much. Those were great opening statements, really, very good. Okay, next we're going to start with some questions. The questions have been prepared in advance. None of you, of course, gotten the questions. Actually, they're hot off the press. I just finished them. So we're going to start again with Jacqueline. And Jacqueline, you have 1.5 minutes. The first question is, what do you see as the most pressing needs specifically for your Ward 1? I'm going to repeat it. What do you see as the most pressing needs specifically for your Ward 1?
I see the pressing need, number one, is communication. We got to stay informed on the things at hand that's going on in our community. That is pressing. I've talked to some of the citizens in the community, and they don't seem to know too much about anything that's going on. So that's pressing for me. I want to make sure that they are informed on things at hand that's going on in our community, and to make sure they get a understanding that the city council meetings is very important for them to attend, so they'll understand what's going on, so it won't be such a press for them to understand the things going on. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful, great. All right, Danielle, you're next.
Okay.
1.5 minutes.
All right. So, just the most pressing issue as far as Ward 1 is concerned, I think we really need to focus on infrastructure and services. I've worked on a lot of legislation concerning, when you talk about infrastructure, you're talking about like fundamental facilities or structures that really build up your community and make it function. So I'm talking broadband, roads, all of the things that you use every day. But broadband, especially because, it's been a hot topic with rural development and infrastructure. Anytime those two topics come up, broadband is following closely. But I've worked on the legislation, all of the major pieces of legislation for broadband. And I've been working with the city to kind of get those components added into our comprehensive plan, and I'll continue working on that. But broadband and steady, stable access to internet for everybody in the community is crucial. That's healthcare, that's school, that's staying connected, which is especially important right now with COVID-19. I mean, that's talking to your friends, that's teleworking, that's everything, that's making you connected to the world. And then of course the roads always can use improvement in the ward. And then services, childcare, or at least after school programs, things like that, that we definitely need to build up and improve upon.
Thank you so much. Next, we've got Mr. Ridley. Could you unmute him, Gila? Okay, Mr. Ridley, you're going to have to unmute yourself.
I have, but he apparently got there we go.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry about that. Thank you. Well, one of the most pressing issues, I think, it's a lot of things that are at hand are to need to be addressed in our community. Economically disadvantaged is one biggest thing. One thing that sticks in my mind a lot is how 51% of our students at Carrollton High School are fall in that economically disadvantaged area. So what falls in a lot is understanding how we can be a link to make sure that we have the funding for our community in short to grow. Once again, after school programs, how they grow. Once again, the elderly program, households having correct. Once again, the meal programs continue throughout the city and focus on our community, ensure that our students can have the basics necessities in order for them to strive and grow. And also ensure that our household, once again, that economical infrastructure is present in our community, ensure that we can grow. So once again, I think the pressing issue is overall, the bulk of it is our economically disadvantaged areas and spots of our community.
All right, thank you. Next question. So we're going to bring this next question. Ms. Fluck will answer first. The question is, in the city of Carrollton as a whole, what do you think the top strategic priorities should be for the next 5 years? I'll repeat that. In the city of Carrollton as a whole, what do you think the top strategic priorities should be for the next 5 years?
Honestly, I think for the whole city of Carrollton, I think building up that infrastructure once again, I mean, that's critical. That's economic development, that's broadband. I mean, they kind of all play off of each other. So when you're talking like broadband, that leads to economic development, right? Because that's like better connection to school and your business and telework, whatever you're doing. So that also healthcare. But I think building on that infrastructure, making sure our roads are good, and then, continuing to find investment in Ward 1 and the rest of the city, trying to bring people here and build on the great city that Carrollton already is.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ridley, you're next. 1.5 minutes.
Okay, am I unmuted? No, I'm not. I can't hear you.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
all right, great.
Yes.
All right. Once again, state the question for me again. I want to ensure that I have it, the understanding.
Okay. In the city of Carrollton as a whole, what do you think the top strategic priorities should be for the next 5 years?
Well, that is a real broad question, but I do thank you for it. One other, housing does come to plan once again. All that falls in with the community infrastructure. Housing falls in is a big understanding. After school programs, once again, is all these fall in the comprehensive plan that Carrollton has put forward for our next 5 years. Housing, roads, the growth of our community, poverty, homelessness in our community, definitely all goes in hands with that. So if I had to say which ones put in order, poverty / homelessness is a great priority for that. And that's a tough question for me, but all those, set close. And all one will need area of focus. Once again, poverty / homelessness, after school program for our children, once again, and all that falls on the housing and the total comprehensive plan that Carrollton has put in plan.
Great, thank you very much. Next, Jacqueline, you have 1.5 minutes.
The comprehensive planning is the neighborhood and housing development, affordability and availability for the low income, for the senior citizens, and single family homes. Also, our safety and services, making sure that we equip the firemen and the police officers to have more training, to be equipped for our community, and to be effective in our community. Have outreach programs for the youth, for the school, after school programs, the infrastructure as far as like what's going on now on the Bankhead highways. We're in process now to do the infrastructure for the corridor on Alabama Street, the potholes, making sure we have multi ability for the bicycles, the pedestrians, transits for the elderly, making sure that they get where they're going in the community. As far as our kids, make sure we communicate, show the kids that we are a diverse community. And that was some of the top things for the next 5 years that we're going to work on, making sure our city's strong and setting on a strong foundation so we can all work together in our community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, the next question, Mr. Ridley will answer first. Here's the question, and I'll repeat it. What do you see as the role of city council members, and how do you see your role interacting with the mayor's role? Okay, to repeat, what do you see as the role of city council members, and how do you see your role interacting with the mayor's role?
Well, I answered the latter part first. Our role for the mayor position I feel that it is a preparation for, or if need to be, for the mayor's position. The role of city council to ensure, once again, is, as we say, Ward 1, is making sure Ward 1 works close, Ward 1 representative works close with the mayor and understanding the budgeting, the city ordinance, be the voice for the community, ensure that those structural things are taken care of for Ward 1 in the council's position. So for the mayor's position, once again, it is, I can say it's the first stepping stone for mayor, you could say, for lack of better terms, as you grow, as you get closer and more understanding with the position.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, next is Jacqueline.
Yes. I think a city council role first should be leadership. You should lead with the example of what you want to see in your community, first of all. Secondly, is having the authority to make decisions. Some decisions are going to be hard, some are not going to be so hard, but you got to be able to stand and make leadership positions. That's why the mayor playing close with the mayor is very important, because let's say, for an example, is the mayor not there to make the decision, you might be the one next in line to make the decision. So you got to be ready to make decisions at any given time in your position as a city councilman, and also being able to work with the other city councilmen in making those decisions, because you got to be professional when you're making decisions. You got to be mindful when you make a decision, and you know you're making them for your city to make your city a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bridges. Next is Ms. Fluck.
So I think the role of a city council person is both representative and very leadership driven. I think that you kind of have to be both. You have to be able to be a leader, which means that you have to be able to guide people and set an example, and not just like in the way you act, but also the way you make decisions. You need to inform yourself. And if you don't know an answer, you need to find one, and you need to be able to justify that decision to the people. But you also need to be representative. Like, there are going to be times where I might have a certain point of view, but maybe that's not the point of view of all of Ward 1. And I need to be able to kind of talk to them and understand and, you know, kind of take that and represent that, and not necessarily my own perspective. And as far as how it works or interacts with the mayor, I think that we're all of the 4 city council people, you know, we're in charge, or we're responsible for taking perspective and, you know, issues facing our particular individual wards and bringing that to the view of the mayor and the rest of the city council so that we can address it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now then, the next question, Ms. Bridges will answer first. Number 4, if elected, what are your plans to attract and keep high-quality city employees, particularly in the area of public safety? I'll repeat that. If elected, what are your plans to attract and keep high-quality city employees, particularly in the area of public safety? Ms. Bridges.
Making sure they have the plans, making sure it's allocated, making sure everybody's on one accord. We're most powerful when we are one. When we are together, when we're on one accord, we can move sporadically on the situation at hand to keep everybody in the proper perspective, in their right place in the community. And that's my take on that.
Thank you. Okay, next would be Ms. Fluck.
All right, so this is where being a budget professional and kind of working in state policy comes in handy. So, you know, you need to make sure that your salaries are competitive, that you're rewarding people for their performance and not necessarily just giving everybody just raises across the board. Making sure they're safe, that we're abiding by every safety precaution so that our city employees, you know, make it home every day. And especially with law enforcement, making sure those salaries are competitive, making sure that we have the best training, the best equipment, anything they need to keep them safe, and also the citizens safe. So I think, you know, being able to budget for that and find, you know, take some of that experience from the state level and bring it to the city level, because we do all of the performance plans and the salary increases and approving those plans. So just taking what I've learned there, bringing it here, and using it for the city's benefit.
Great, thank you. Mr. Ridley.
Okay. Let's make sure we get the right personnel in the right position. A lot was said there. You know, truly, it does come with your P&L and your budget statements and stuff that you'll forecast for the right person. And also, I think a lot of times we just have to keep upholding what we have now. Carrollton is known for the friendliest city for that particular reason. Ensure that we we maintain that. With my experience, knowing that people do matter, making sure that I can help promote that more. and let them know that we're in the city, that with a great city high school where, 90+% graduation rate and those things. Once again, it's most people that are professionals coming to Carrollton, that's looking to come to Carrollton, they're bringing their family also. So those other outside entities are areas help it be more attractive. And then what we have to do as a councilman or councilwoman is ensure that we maintain that. But we maintain that is a future, there is growth, and then that is a service that has to be done here in Carrollton. Even though that we still need to ensure that we are compatible, even though we ensure that we have to make sure that we communicate and make sure that we're staying whole, but making sure that we maintain the structure and the standards that we already have in Carrollton to keep it attractive.
All right, thank you. Next question. Ms. Bridges, did you answer that last question? You did. Okay. You went first last time. So Ms. Fluck, you go first this time. What is the city government and city council's role in the development of housing in Carrollton? What housing needs do you see? I'll repeat that. What is the city government and city council's role in the development of housing in Carrollton? What housing needs do you see?
So I think that the city, just to strike the first part of that question, I think the city and the city council's role is to kind of not only just zoning. I mean, I think that's primarily our responsibility as far as housing is concerned, but also promoting. Like, you need to make sure that you're zoning residential developments appropriately, and you need to make sure that you're not putting, very expensive homes where, you already have some like either median value homes. You don't want to kick or gentrify the neighborhood or kick people out because property taxes go through the roof. So that's something you need to keep in mind, but you also need to be able to promote and kind of like drive people to want to develop housing here, because I've seen it before at the city council meetings where people come in and they want to rezone some part and they say no, because, these considerations, we've decided not to do that. But I also think that, as far as the housing needs that I see in the city, we definitely need more affordable housing. We have a lot of student housing, and I think that's great. We have a large student population for UWG, but we need to start focusing on affordable housing for people that want to set roots here in Carrollton after they graduate. Starter homes, people that maybe are low income that want to start a family and start a home. That's what we need to focus on.
Thank you. Mr. Ridley, you're next.
Okay. Once again, I think when the comprehensive plan came out, the range of houses was for 125,000 on up to maybe 200,000, 250,000. With housing, yes, we got to ensure that we are putting things in the right place. I like that a lot. It's been stated a couple of times. A lot of articles have been mentioned on that. But housing, we have to ensure that we put it in the right place. Not only new development of homes, we have to understand, our revitalization is key to our area. The rebuild up of, when we speak of housing, come to mind is with senior homes, senior homeowners. Ensure that they maintain the ownership of their homes. Ensure that they can have a developed home in the community that they have served for years. So the home is pricing wise, the understanding of is once again making sure we're not putting things that can't be maintained. And also we want to make sure that we put things in that can have a curb appeal that desires people to want to show this as a home, or to want to be able to brag about that this is home, especially in Ward 1. Housing is a very, very big opportunity for a lot of developers, a lot of people that I do speak with. But the thing is, understand that we have the right amount of houses, right places for homes, and make sure that we're not just going in the same area that we did 40 and 50 years ago with our era of.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bridges?
To promote strategic planning for location for housing, to make sure the housing are affordable, for the senior citizen and for the single family homes. Making sure that the senior citizens, when you're building the homes, make sure they got what they need, making sure they got the ramps, making sure they got everything they need for those housing, making sure it's affordable to them, making sure it's available to the community, to the senior citizen. And in this neighborhood, particularly for Ward 1, the housing that's already existing, being able to renovate the houses for the citizens in the community to live in, instead of them being condemned, renovate them for use for housing, to be able to develop a more close communication with the city as well, so we can know what we need to do to take strategic planning and development for the housing for the community that'll benefit for them and not so pricely to take away from the beautification from the city and from our community. And that's my take on that. Thank you.
Great, wonderful. All right, on question number 6, Mr. Ridley answers first. The question is, what would you say are the greatest challenges for the city of Carrollton that make it difficult to attract new business or industry? And how would you address these challenges? I'm going to repeat it. What would you say are the greatest challenges for the city of Carrollton that make it difficult to attract new business or industry? And how would you address these challenges?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is almost nothing we can do about it. It's our proximity, our location. If we was close, a little bit closer to a major intersection, that would definitely make Carrollton more attractive. Since we are 10, 20 miles, give or take, from a major interstate, that does make it challenging. However, what does make it here now? Because the proximity of, even though we are a couple miles away from a major interstate, we are in a great proximity to a major city, which is Atlanta, which makes it even more attractive to where we're at. You take the pros with the con. And how do we do that? Once again, we keep selling it as is, for that. Carrollton, once again, the great part of it, when I come here to develop, once again, people are gonna move here. And once they move here, they need housing. And once they move housing, they have children. And with their children, they need to understand that they have a great place for their kids can have a high school education. They have a great community they can go to. Even if they choose to go further, we have a great university that they can grow from to there. And if they want to continue also bringing their business venture to help tie in with our current ones here, you have great outlets with that and resources. So yes, it's pros and cons of both, but a lot of the big pros is just, once again, it is Carrollton and what we are. And once again, we are a community that and opens a lot of things. We're very objective about what we do, but we want to make sure that we are open to all.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Bridges, you're next.
I would promote growth. We would do more quality planning downtown. We would do more programming as far as the AMP and make it exciting to invite people downtown, to make it exciting. They want to come downtown Carrollton, to promote businesses that are already here in downtown Carrollton, to get more people to come in, to invite them in, so we have more growth and expand it. And, to be excited about what we do, because when people see how enthusiastic you are about your city, they'll be more apt to want to come and to have different activities for the kids. The city of Carrollton is great for everybody, from the youngest to the oldest, and just promote that and keep standing on the foundation that it already is. And that'll bring more people and business and activities to the city of Carroll County.
Great,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Ms. Fluck, you're next.
Sorry, I was fighting with the unmute button for a second. So as far as barriers to development and everything, I think honestly, making sure that our community and the people living in it have the skill sets needed for business. I think that was your question, correct? Is the barriers to, okay. So, just making sure that, everybody has the skill sets needed to, that for prospective developments or businesses coming into Carrollton, so that they see that, oh man, they have a large amount of these people with these skills that we need. And I think, honestly, engaging with our community partners who might be willing to offer those, as well as we have a wonderful university and a wonderful technical college. So just engaging with those two entities, as well as community partners, nonprofits. I know that there are a couple of, mentorship kind of, job skill building, professional skill building entities that might be very beneficial to building up those skills. I think that's our biggest barrier, is just making, finding what skills are needed and then making sure we have them so that businesses want to come here.
All right, thank you. My Zoom commander is telling me that we may need to have you all unmute yourselves. We've been having some problems with muting. So if you feel good about that, when it's your turn, just unmute yourself. But when it stops being your turn, if you could mute again. So the next question goes to Ms. Bridges. Question number 7. As the city slowly rebounds from this difficult economic climate, budget cuts are going to need to be made. Please discuss some cost-cutting measures you would propose if elected.
First of all, I would like to talk a little bit about what is important. I would go down the line. What is important for us to keep and what is less important for us to cut. Some of the things that we already have in our community, like some of the stuff, the renovation for the parks and different things of that nature, I would kind of cut those budgets versus to the more important things that we have at hand in our community, as for, cost of living and stuff of that nature, things that we could give to the community or provide more or less for the community, for the city citizens and for the citizens in the community. And then you would cut some of those budgets as opposed to cutting the important thing that we really need in our community. I wouldn't cut the importance, but the less important things of like recreation stuff can be cut. It's not that important. The renovation of the parks can be cut. It's really not that important. But the other important things that the community needs, the more I get in there and get into it, it would be some of those that I would probably cut.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fluck, you're next.
Oh, I was unmuted. Awesome. So again, being a budget professional, super prepared for this. So, one of the things that I would look at first is, what are we funding with bonds? Do we have opportunities to utilize bonds more effectively? So maybe if we have capital projects that absolutely have to be done, we're not using like a general fund, we're more of, putting it on a credit card that can be paid up over time. And that's just for like critical needs. Vehicles, are we using vehicles most efficiently? Are we buying the most expensive vehicle versus could we do with a smaller vehicle for the city? Travel, cutting that out. As well as like if there are services offered by the city that could be potentially, we could contract with a nonprofit to maybe have them offer it. Because I know nonprofits, the really great thing about nonprofits, and sometimes they get, hit for this, is nonprofits offer services sometimes more effectively and cheaper for residents than a city can, because it's their area of expertise, right? So maybe trying to find that and utilize that more effectively. Just my last thing would be cutting employees. I don't want to cut people's jobs ever, especially if they're good employees. So that would be my approach to it, is just a couple of thoughts off the top of my head.
Great, thank you. Mr. Ridley?
Okay, I'm here. Well, when it comes to this topic, it is always a touchy issue on that. Do you raise millage rate? Do you cut? What do you need to be? Because once again, we all know that we need the government still has to run. So what do we need to cut is that's a real big thing. Real big topic. A lot of equipment that we may need. We may think that we need new capital equipment. We may not need that. So that may be an area to focus on or to look at. A lot of our youth projects. I'm not big on cutting our future projects, but things is what we may have to, if we don't say cut, what we may have to trim, it may be areas of that also. A recreation department is a big entity in our community and a big part of our growth. But I am looking at capital equipment. You know, once again, we hate to look at jobs. We hate to look at furloughs, but those areas may have to be discussed for direct specific areas that we need to cut. I can't say right now on which ones that we need to set, but new equipment, taking on new projects that can be pushed out a little bit more. We need that. As in Carroll County, our water treatment projects that are going on, those still need to stay in order. We don't need to touch those. Once again, different areas, how we improve our infrastructure. It needs to happen, but we may have to spread those things out a little bit better. For its cut, let's say when you say cut, we're slashing a lot, even though we have to deal with a lot with the company I work with and what I have to Miller Page manage, but it's all about what we need to trim and look and focus on.
Okay, thank you. Now for question number 8, Ms. Fluck, you will be the first answerer. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of expanding the Carrollton city limits. I'll repeat. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of expanding the Carrollton city limits.
Woo! Well, I did not expect that question. So I guess one of the advantages to expanding it is you have more people from Carrollton, which is always great. I mean, we're a great city. More of a tax base, right? But the disadvantages, I would have to say, you're providing services to more people, so the cost goes up. Yeah, I mean, I have really not a lot in disadvantages. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Ridley, you're next. What are the advantages and disadvantages of expanding the Carrollton city limits?
Okay, one of the advantages for Carrollton, the city is naturally there's more tax and more funding coming into the city. And one big focus of it is going to be our school system for the city. So that would, and then just on the opposite end of that is, you know, expanding it that's going to take away from county funding also, because those dollars that will be in the county funding, i.e. recreation, i.e. schooling, it's going to be within the city now. And also just little things is, as we look at just one comes to mind is mobile homes. If I expand the city, I may have land now planned for a 10 or 5-year program. I can't do that because I may not have enough acreage in the inner city for that housing. So it's gonna, one disadvantage, in some aspect, it will affect homes and how home development is according on the aspect, the level that you're on with your homes. And once again, the advantage is for the city, once again, more tax dollars in and for us helping with our millage and our operating budget for the city, in the inner city.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, Ms. Bridges, if you'll answer.
Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know much about expanding the city and the city limits because I'm not, aware of like how it extends or here or there. And I don't like to just lie and make up something just to say. So I'm not sure about that right now. So I don't want to comment on that because I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's see. Now we are on question 9, and Mr. Ridley will answer first. Acknowledging the close relationship that Carrollton and Carroll County have with each other, if elected, what plans do you have to maintain or improve the relationship between the county and the city? I'll repeat it. Acknowledging the close relationship that Carrollton and Carroll County have with each other. If elected, what plans do you have to maintain or improve the relationship between the county and city?
Okay, just from my understanding, the relationships are good between both. You know, we are Carrollton City, we are the Carroll County. So one is of the same that I would think. And just continue that is one thing come to mind is the law enforcement throughout our city, i.e. being with the university, they have their own law enforcement there. The city has theirs and the county has theirs. Once again, ensure that relationship maintains, still the utmost, because it was mentioned earlier, but our safety throughout our communities with the S is still the utmost important, because the people is what matter throughout this whole thing. So once again, is ensuring that those public safety relationships grow more and more. And then if I had to have another footnote or another side with that, would be our recreational relationships and how they can continue to grow, and a little league sports come to mind when I think of that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bridges, if you'll answer that question.
It would be keeping the same vision, being on one accord, forward thinking, exercise our history of our strength and our pride and our strongness, togetherness in our community. And you know how I am. We're most powerful when we want. We keep that relationship going. We have programs and services for the entire population of our city. And that's my take on that one.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Fluck?
All right, so I think honestly, just maintaining a really good relationship, there's gonna have to be some open communication between both Carroll County and the city of Carrollton. I think honestly, to build up that relationship and keep it going strong is just, if we see something's working for us as a city, or if we have resources that we can maybe lend or share with the county, I mean, that's gonna help our relationship grow a little bit stronger. Always being able to work with each other, and they might have a policy that's working for them, we can implement it. We might have something that's working really well for us, and maybe they just haven't considered it yet or haven't really seen that approach. So we can kind of bounce off ideas off of each other. I know, in addition to Carroll County, making sure that relationship with UWG stays strong. It is a state agency, so we don't have a lot of things we can go in and say, you have to do this, but just making sure that we're always working together and, seeing each other as partners.
Great, okay. Let's see, Mr. Ridley, you've already answered that question, right? So we're now on question 10. Ms. Bridges, you answered this question first. What are the transportation options currently available in Carrollton? Do we have enough options? If not, what would you do to increase those? I'll repeat. What are the transportation options currently available in Carrollton? Do we have enough options? If not, what will you do to increase those?
We have the Carrollton Transit, which is available to the city citizens. We also have the same transit is available for the University of West Georgia. So, like if they're on the square, if they need to get around and get about throughout the city, the transportation is available for them. And just like as far as the city citizens, the transportation is available for them when they try to get around in the city of Carrollton. Now, if I had to add to that, I would just increase the transit system and transportation that we already have. When we grow, when the economic grows, when the population grows, I would just add on to what we already have, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already invented. So I would go off what we already have and just make it more than what we already have in the city of Carroll.
Thank you. We're doing really well on time. Ms. Fluck, would you answer that question next?
Okay, so as far as transit, I know that there are some vans that I've seen going around, and you can call them up or text them or whatever communication form you need to get them to come pick you up. And I think seniors utilize it a lot to kind of make grocery trips. We have the UWG bus system that I don't think anybody who isn't a student can use, but at least it's there for the students. There's your feet, and then there's biking, and then your own personal vehicle. But as for transit options or transportation options, we don't have a lot going on. We don't even have a commuter bus. I know that the state actually has commuter express buses that come between here and Atlanta, or at least they come between Douglasville and Atlanta. And I would love to see if the city could look into that as an option for those that commute back and forth. But we don't have a lot of commuting options, especially for those that are either seniors or, maybe low income, maybe just don't want to deal with the hassle of having their own personal car. Just seeing, extra transportation options would be awesome, for sure.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ridley.
Once again, yes, like both of the ladies just said, it is a big opportunity. Right now we have Carrollton Connection, and but for its opportunity, it is a great opportunity for, what would we like to see mini version of MARTA throughout Carrollton. Some would say yes and some would say no, but do we need a better public transportation system? I would think so. As was stated also, what can also aid in our transportation, ensuring is that we're going back to our infrastructure, make sure that we choose not to drive or gain a public transportation system, i.e. being a bus service, is that we have proper sidewalks to walk on, that we have proper bikes trail and bike corners to travel on, and that's in proper speed control in those areas to help us afford transit. But the overall transit system, yes, it is definitely something that we need to definitely look at how we can grow on a greater plan. Because once again, I think now it's a $3 or either $6 program that you can pay and have people commute you, i.e. as it was stated, for its grocery, come from medical or visits or whatever it may be. But we do need a program that's saying, I like the thought of, and I put emphasis on the thought of having a similar and a very diluted similar system where I can stand on the corner and I know the bus is coming at a particular schedule. I like the thought of that.
Great, all good answers. Now, Ms. Fluck, you answer this question first. The downtown Adamson Square area has taken quite a hit during the COVID pandemic. How do you propose we help our local businesses stay open and thrive? I'll repeat that. The downtown Adamson Square area has taken quite a hit during the COVID pandemic. How do you propose we help our local businesses stay open and thrive?
So I think Carrollton's one of the very few cities in the state that has like an occupational tax, or there's different terminology for it. So maybe kind of postponing that. I think that that's been done so far, but just continuing that as we can. If we get to a point as a city where it's not financially feasible, maybe taking a second look. I think that, a lot of cities did to-go beverages or alcoholic beverages. A lot of our city or our restaurants on the square rely on those alcoholic beverages. And while it's not a topic I want to get into, I think just looking at things that we can do in that same sphere where we can like loosen the rules just a tiny tad bit to allow them the flexibility to run their businesses appropriately so that they're not out of business, so we don't lose those businesses. And then just as we find better solutions to these issues that allow the businesses to function, just implementing those. But I think postponing a lot of occupational taxes, or if there's specific taxes or related to like alcohol sales or whatnot, if those are coming to the city first and not Department of Revenue, then just kind of pushing that back so they have a little bit more time to, get those funds to us.
Okay, Mr. Ridley, you're next.
All right, this thing doesn't like me today. Okay. Well, the opportunity is, one, we got to get personnels there. Two, we got to make it attractive for all personnel who want to come there. Yes, a lot of different little taxes on that square. Being a culinary and being, a former restaurant owner, is that a lot of time that do not make it so attractive for certain business owners to go downtown Carrollton. But a lot of these are different. Once again, lack of a better term, millage rates, another thing that's on the square is definitely unattractive. And so those have to be managed a little bit better to ensure. But once again, you have to make it attractive for a lot more personnel. You need peoples in the seat in order to make sure that you can get table sales. And right now, with our COVID-19, it is still iffy. But once again, you need to make it more attractive to make sure, and you have to make sure opportunities for the restaurant owners, the chefs, the personnel, the servers can put more in their pockets, more so than going out on the local government.
Thank you. Ms. Bridges, you answer the question next.
I would say, tax cuts, pop-up shops where they can have people to pop up and buy things to keep the businesses going. Curbside services where people can come and just pull up and get their services, and they can make funding from that to keep their businesses going, and just have different strategies to influence them and motivate them to keep going in this pandemic times to help their businesses, and just keep encouraging them and doing what we can do as a city to work with them on their businesses.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So now we have our last question, question number 12, and Mr. Ridley, you go first. The question is, in 1954, a new building was built for African American or Black students in public school grades 8 through 12 and was named the George Washington Carver High School. What do you propose could be done with the historic Carver High building? I'll repeat that. In 1954, a new building was built for African American or Black students in public school grades 8 through 12 and was named the George Washington Carver High School. What do you propose could be done with the historic Carver High building?
Am I unmuted? Okay. Well, I had this question on there. I knew it was coming, and I am glad you did ask it. But what I think I do think is it's a lot of moving parts to this. But what I do think is, with named after George Washington Carver, you just think about it, and we think about his history, his legacy, what he did. What was he a researcher of? He was a scientist. He wasn't a medical scientist, but he was a scientist. So in order to, how do we carry on that name? And then also we want to look at a key part of our African American community is that building and that what it stood for, i.e. my mother graduated, well, my mother attended there, is how do we hold both of them to ensure that we have growth on there? So my thought is, yes, we have to preserve what staples in our community. We have to, because we've torn down a lot of them, older funeral homes, older different things throughout our community that we have allowed them to be destroyed and moved on. So we don't have the history. I don't have the history that I can tell Ashton, my 1-year-old grandson. So what do we have to do? What I propose, I think it's enough room for everyone. I think it's economic growth has to be for the community. Do we have to uphold these parts that make our community? Yes, we do. And then what do we do? Can we ensure that both happens? I think so. We need the economical growth, but we need to maintain our history in a respectful, upbeat manner also.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bridges, you're next.
I think the historic part of the old Carver High is I can see it being a museum, number one. Number two, I can see it being a big help to the community. Adolescent programs for the kids. The kids are right here in the community. They can walk to the school. Learning abilities for the kids that have disability learning, all age groups, having recreational things going on at the school that the kids can walk to, but they won't have to worry about going way across town to get to. I would like to have a program for the young ladies in the community, pregnancy testing, for the women, for the young ladies that need help when raising their kids, child care in the facility. I was thinking about having a reentry program in the facility for the young men and women that's getting out of jail that's been incarcerated so they can get their GED. A whole lot of things can be done at that Carver High School to stay in this community, not only historic, but a landmark for this community to grow and build upon. That's what I think the Carver High School could be used for.
Okay, and Ms. Fluck?
Oh, thank you. So the Carver High School, that legacy needs to be respected. I think the history is incredibly important, especially to Ward 1. And I think that the rest of the city needs to respect that. And I also think it has a lot of potential. Honestly, if we are not going to turn it into a lab, it still has so many things we could do with it, especially like after school care. We have a lack of after school programs in this city. And I would love to see that where kids can go and do their homework with computer and internet access. Or not even just kids, but people need to fill out a job resume or a job application, getting people, in that facility that can help fill out a job resume, because as somebody who's done resumes, it's not easy. So just having somebody who can provide that kind of like mentorship, like, hey, maybe you want to do this on your resume. Teaching people how to go into a job interview, like just kind of getting prepared for the workforce, giving kids a place where they can go after school and do their homework and stay out of trouble. These are important to our community. And I think that building is and will be an amazing asset to address those needs.
These are all three excellent answers, and I commend you. That's the end of our questions, but next, you each get time for a closing statement. And again, we will have Ms. Bridges go first. Let me make sure that, yeah, I think Ms. Bridges goes first. So you each have 1 minute for a closing statement. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you, ladies, the League of Women Voters, for inviting me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my love for the community. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to express my leadership for this community. And thank all of you that's out here on Facebook watching. I will be the best city councilwoman that you could ever get. I love what I do. Everything stems around me is loving people, helping people, doing everything with other people. It's not about me. A leader serves, not to be served. And thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to speak with you guys. And thank you guys out there on Facebook for taking the opportunity to listen. Thank you all.
Okay, Ms. Fluck?
So I just want to let everybody know, first of all, thank you again. Like Jacqueline said, thank you for having this forum and giving people a chance to get to know all three of us. But, my entire adult life has been dedicated to public service, from the education I got to the job I'm in to everything I've done since I turned 18. I mean, you and I, Robin, we've sat at voter registration drives together. So I just want everybody to know that if you choose to support me and give me your vote on June 9th, I promise I will take that same dedication to public service. I will take my leadership abilities and I will take all of my experience in education to amplify our voice as a ward and make sure that you're heard and that we have everything that we need as a community. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right. And Mr. Ridley, just wrap us up.
Okay. Once again, thank you all for having me. Ward 1, I just want to express, the need for us, for Ward 1 to ensure they have a personnel in there who's going to maintain, have a great respect for the community and a great understanding for what is need to be done and how it's need to be done. One who you have grown up with, one who you have seen grow and be successful in other avenues in our community. So what Ward 1 needs, you need Rodney Ridley to ensure that we can maintain, that we can grow, that we can rebuild, that we can revitalize, and then we can reshape our community to ensure that we have a great future for our kids and as we grow in our latter days. So once again, Rodney Ridley is here for Ward 1, where service matters. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all of our candidates. I really appreciate you being patient with us as we learn how to do this Zoom venue. And I want to say a special, special thanks to all of you candidates for even running for office, for putting yourself out there and running for office. And I have great respect for you. So that concludes our evening. And this will be on Facebook and also on YouTube. And we'll send it to each of you. Okay, so you can share it with your constituents. Thank you. Bye-bye.